All right, welcome in to a Monday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show. A little late here as we woke up at the beach and now back here in the studio. It's good to be back. Good to have everybody in studio with us. Wanted to make sure we got some stuff on the record today because so much sports news has been popping over the last 72 hours. It started on Friday with Adam Miller and Jarvis Landry. It went through the weekend with Trey Holly committing, and then the Game 7s yesterday, LSU baseball getting swept up. Drew Brees done at NBC, tweeting out what could be next for him. So much to get to here on the Jordy Culotta Show. We have a little bit of time. We will be in right before Mic'd Up cranks up at 11 o'clock this morning. Make sure and stay tuned. Mikey will be here at 11 o'clock, just like he is every Monday and Wednesday with you. If you have not subscribed to the Mic'd Up channel, make sure you're there. If you have not subscribed to the Jordy Culotta Show channel, make sure you have already done that. We appreciate the interaction. Like and share. We'll be back on our regular time tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. We were on vacation throughout the weekend. We're going to be back in the office today, but had planned on taking the show off. But like I said, with so much happening, I didn't want a day to go by without us having a chance to put stuff on the record of just how wild the weekend was as far as news. I think everybody will always remember Friday the 13th around here in South Louisiana, as it was a great sports news day for everybody down here, as Adam Miller kicked it off on Friday afternoon, recommitting to the LSU basketball team, and then Jarvis Landry agreeing to terms with the New Orleans Saints and officially being announced as a member of the Black and Gold. Does it get any better than that on a Friday in South Louisiana, even though it was Friday the 13th? As always, Ghost Chevrolet is driving us, GEAUX, Chevrolet.com. Don't forget about our crew online at GEAUX Chevrolet. GoChevrolet.com. Laplace, Louisiana, if you're looking for a brand new car. If you're looking for a used car, you can check it out here at Go Express Auto Sales on the corner of Florida Boulevard and Sherwood Forest. As always, we appreciate Go Chevrolet for driving us. True Blue Water, TRU, BlueWater.com. TRU, BlueWater.com is where you find and can get on the delivery route for True Blue Water. We got Stewie is here. The Carpool Queen is here. And Noah is in here on this Monday after last night. Clout Demons. Hope everybody is catching on to what's going on Sunday nights here on the Jordy Culotta Show page, as they have some content coming out for you. And there was a ton to talk about. Weekend started with, like we said, great news for LSU basketball, as Adam Miller, Ace Wolf, announced that he would be returning to LSU. We gave you our thoughts on Friday morning of what potentially that could mean for LSU hoop, but now that it's official, really kind of incredible to look at this team on paper and to see the work that Matt McMahon has done in just such a brief time, and to be able to close Adam Miller and get him back on campus may be his biggest recruiting win. And I know that he's gotten some really good transfers, and he's picked up some guys that are still out there being recruited, like Tyrell Ward, who's a 4-star. By the way, Julian Phillips pledged to Tennessee over the weekend. Phillips, the former LSU recruit, was pledged to Will Wade in LSU basketball. Tigers were putting up a fight and trying to get him to stay in the class, but looked like Auburn and Tennessee had really kind of exerted themselves as the front runners with Phillips and his recruiting. And Tennessee and Rick Barnes were able to win out. G League made a really last-minute push on Julian Phillips, and this is something that I think that we're going to start to see with these high-end guys. Phillips is a top 20 player. I believe he's ranked the number 12 player in the country out of Missouri, and really come with a lot of headlines. And it was, you'll start to see these high-end players really start to get recruited, and listening to the pitch of the NBA G League. Obviously, the money means something, and you're able to kind of start your clock on being a professional. But Julian Phillips pledges to Tennessee. Adam Miller pledges back to LSU. And as we said, talking to some people around this recruitment, it was really about the relationships that were in place. LSU had a really nice head start on this thing with people like Tasman Mitchell, who were remaining on staff, and a lot of people around the training of Adam Miller and the rehab of Miller was very much was very influential on this. Sean Eddy, who really kind of runs from the spotlight and doesn't want any attention in kind of what he does. He's been there for so long, going on 20 years, was really, I'm telling you, a key piece in this as far as the relationship and being able to keep Miller on campus. So, incredible news for Matt McMahon. I think they're a preseason top 25 team. If they're not 25, they'll be 25 through 30.
Well, he's one of the top coaches to watch. I think he was like number 2 on the list of like top new coaches to watch coming in.
Well, I mean, just by what he's doing right now makes him do that. And I think even from Matt McMahon's standpoint, he's still got some some unanswered questions, probably in his own head. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like he's done it and succeeded at. At a lower 5, outside of a Power 5 school. And now with the roster that he's put together, he's brought some attention to the program and really done a lot of good work. But from a coaching standpoint, puts a little pressure on you. You know what I mean? Like now you're expected, I don't think they're expected to win the league in year 1, but for the roster that he's been able to just put together quickly,
it's crazy.
It's unbelievable. It's incredible the work that he's been able to do behind the 8 ball, first and foremost, like LSU has been. You don't even know. I mean, publicly, they may know things behind closed doors that we're not talking about publicly, but at least publicly, there's been no official statement on what to expect, what could be, and to see McMahon having all this success with that hanging over the program's head makes it more impressive. You know what I mean? So just incredible work. I don't know how much more you can say about McMahon, his staff, the LSU basketball program, in just the short time that he's been in Baton Rouge and what he's put together. I mean, 7 weeks ago, he didn't have a player. 7 weeks later, he's potentially a preseason top 25 team. I would think that they would be expected to make the tournament. I mean, if you're betting on this in Vegas, I would say that this feels like a tournament team. Incredible work, Matt McMahon. I mean, and I don't know if they're done. I mean, I think
they still have a spot left.
They still have a spot left. Yeah. So, I mean, who knows where that could go. And
what are they trying to fill? So
I think you still need a little size.
Yeah.
You're very guard heavy still.
Yeah.
So I think they'll probably go with another big. I think Sharif is a possibility.
Really?
I think so. I think the G League's making a huge push at Sharif. But even after the season, or kind of towards the end of the season, we were talking to kind of Will Wade about the way that he had put the team together, and he said, you know what, if he knew what he knew now, this is before all the stuff had come down, he was talking about the present team, he said he probably would have gotten more guards because of just the style and kind of the way he wanted to play, and maybe they were a little too big, guys like Ezewiro and that were sitting on the bench and not playing a lot of minutes. So, I mean, when you look at the construction of this team, it feels like a team that can get out and run it, and even the bigs are athletic.
Right. And that's what you want. That's like if you look at Arkansas's team last year, they would run 3-4 guard lineups with Jalen Williams at the 5, who's an athletic 4, and so that's how you want to build the team, so you can go deep and you can have scorers and people that can attack the basket.
It's going to be fun to watch this team play. I mean, just by the way that they're constructed, by the way that this team is put together, it really feels like they could be a fun team to watch. I mean, I think probably a month ago, Matt McMahon's just thinking, I don't care who you get, how you get them, get players. But now he's really been able to kind of put together a puzzle that really kind of the pieces at least look like on paper that they fit. So crazy news, great news for Ace Wolf, Adam Miller, and LSU basketball as he returns to Baton Rouge. Never left. But we'll be back in. I love the golds. By the way, the announcement he made in the gold jersey, the all golds, and the fact that he's wearing 44. 44 is a number I think in the program. Damn, Stu.
That was the loudest phone ding I've ever heard. I feel like it went on for so long.
Sheesh. Throw that thing through the window. But I mean, the number 44. Obviously, in the program at LSU, means a lot. It means incredibly just it means something to LSU basketball. And obviously Wade Sims, the late Wade Sims, rest in peace, for the last to wear that number before Miller. Wade's father, Wayne, wore that number alongside Shaquille O'Neal. And then before that, Don Redden, who was the captain of the 1986 Final Four squad, who tragically passed away 2 years after that run in 1988, wore number 44 as well. So it's a number that really
big number.
has a big sentiment to the program, and to see him coming back wearing that number is pretty cool. So shout out to LSU basketball. Shout out to Matt McMahon, the entire crew and staff for what they're doing. In fact, a $5 super chat from Cody Boudreaux early on here says hats off to Coach McMahon after everything that they had gone through, and still continuing to kind of wait on and see what the future is going to hold for LSU basketball. But one thing you know now, whatever the future holds, they're going to have a really good roster when the ruling comes down. So shout out McMahon. Remember, daily, we're brought to you by Cajun Ready Mix Concrete, CajunRMC.com. Our friends over there, CajunRMC.com, got 9 plant locations around the greater Baton Rouge area, which means if you order concrete, it'll be to you on time to the exact specification. Doesn't matter if it's an industrial or residential project. They can help you out at Cajun Ready Mix, CajunRMC.com. And then how about the New Orleans Saints? I mean,
everybody was talking about that all weekend.
They should be, and I don't know if they're done. I mean, like they still may be in the mix for like Quan Alexander and Akeem Hicks. I mean, for a program and an organization that has been just berated for staying away from LSU players, haven't they made all of that up like in the last 3 days?
Yes.
I mean, I was thinking about it. I mean, like even for us. I mean, the fact that they drafted Will Clapp me is. I mean, he's means so much to us, like the way that we look at him and love him so much. I mean, like when they drafted him, even late a couple of years ago, what was it, 2017? I mean, that was enough for me for a while. You know what I mean? Like the fact that we still got Clapper's jersey here in the studio. I mean, and now on Friday, and I now know Clapp is now with the Los Angeles Chargers, but I mean, to look up and see the roster has Tyrann Mathieu. Stewie, turn your mic off while you type on that, please. To look up and see the Saints roster now has Tyrann Mathieu and Jarvis Landry on both sides of the ball. It feels like a dream. I mean, if I was to poll the last 20 years of LSU football fans and asked you for your 2 favorite players or your top 5 favorite players, top 3 favorite players, let's just say that. Because I know Burrow's in there, right? Gotta be. So the top 3 players over the last 20 years in LSU football, we all agree Burrow's there. And then I would reckon that the most popular choices after Burrow would be Tyrann Mathieu and Jarvis Landry.
And they only played for 1 season together?
1 season.
Yeah.
Jarvis's freshman season, Tyrann's sophomore year, which was, just happened to be, one of the most incredible seasons in program history. And if you remember, Jarvis Landry was hurt the majority of that season. He had a foot injury that he sustained early on in camp. If not for that, he would have been playing alongside Odell Beckham. Odell started his first game as an LSU, his true freshman season on the road in Dallas against Oregon. If you go back and watch the play, I mean, Odell's on the field on that first play. I believe he catches a slant route on the opening drive where he jumps like 43 inches off the ground. I mean, it's crazy how he leaps and catches his slant route. But Odell was really kind of Jarvis was really the kind of the guy early on in camp that was kind of catching all the headlines. He was the one that was kind of everybody was buzzing about. Everybody was talking about Landry. And really, Landry was a bigger recruit than Odell was coming out of Lutcher.
Really?
Oh, man. Jarvis Landry he was bigger than all of them. He was bigger than Tyrann. He was bigger than Odell. He was bigger. At the time, Jarvis Landry was, he was the ultimate of Louisiana football. If you remember that class, that was the family. That was La'el Collins, Jeremy Hill, Kenny Hilliard, Odell Beckham. Jarvis Landry was the headliner of that class.
Was that 2011?
2011,
okay.
The family.
Was Anthony Johnson in that
Anthony
class?
Johnson, the Freak was in that class. The Freak was probably the guy that was the most coveted. Him and La'el were on the line of scrimmage, but Jarvis Landry was kind of like the football player of all of them.
Yeah, I think Anthony Johnson was the highest rated.
He was the highest rated recruit. He was Anthony Johnson was like the number one recruit in the country for a minute. And then he turned in the number one defensive lineman, and he kind of slid out of the top 5 as far as overall recruits. But
keep going about Jarvis. Then what? He was hurt.
Jarvis was a 5-star, comes in and lights it up in fall camp. I mean, like Jarvis is Jarvis, catching everything. The thing about Jarvis coming out of high school, I'll remember he came up to the radio station. All of those guys came through there while they were getting recruited. Lyle, Kenny Hilliard, Jeremy, they were all coming through there. And Jarvis came through there one morning, and it was his handshake. It was his hands. He put this grip on you that felt like, I mean, it was like marble. It was like granite. And he would squeeze your hand. And like that was kind of his, I don't know if he intended, but he kind of got a reputation for it. So he would kind of do it to everyone. And then like you would hear these things like he was catching all these like one-handed passes out on the field. And it made a lot of sense because his hands, I mean, were like vice grips. And then he gets banged up. He gets a foot injury early on in camp, and he makes his way back in the middle of the season. But by that time, Reuben Randall was the number 1 wide receiver on that team. Odell was having a really good freshman season on that squad, and they were really having a lot of success running the ball with Spencer Ware and Michael Ford and that whole crew. And Jarvis kind of made his name on special teams that one year that they played together for LSU. They'll still remember in the all-whites at Auburn at 2:30 kickoff here in Baton Rouge. Tyron was actually suspended that game. But Jarvis Landry came down either on the opening kickoff or after LSU scored.
Took somebody's head off.
And absolutely decapitated somebody. I mean, the sound of it, the celebration of it, the stadium raining down on him, and from that moment, Jarvis became just a fan favorite by what he was doing, what he did in recruiting, and then what he was about to be as an LSU player. And then the rest of that freshman season, he made more plays on special teams, but never really made a play as far as at wide receiver. I still remember they put him into the national championship game versus Alabama in the second half, and he is running by himself in the third quarter on a crossing route, and Jordan Jefferson just never sees him. Never sees him. But, I mean, by that time in the year, he was back at full speed. He was back to 100%, and, I mean, he was you could see it, that he was just going to be impossible to keep off of the field into the future. And then the sophomore season, he comes back, and that's when Mettenberger comes in, and you really kind of start to see him and Odell and Jeremy Hill kind of grow into this nucleus of an offense. And then their junior season, I mean, Zach Mettenberger, Odell, and Jarvis had a Burrow, Chase, Jefferson type year. I mean, like they were, I think, the first since the Steve Spurrier, Danny Werfel teams to have a 3,000-yard passer, 2 1,000-yard receivers, and a 1,000-yard rusher. Jeremy Hill went for 1,000 on the ground. Odell and Jarvis went through 1,000 in the air, and Mettenberger was kind of the trigger man behind all of it with 3,000 yards in the stat book. I mean, it was for a Les Miles offense, it was a wet dream. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, what am I watching? Like, how is this happening? I mean, Les would get to the press conference after the game, and he didn't even know what to say. You know what I mean? Like, they were so good, they were able to overcome dipshit coaching like they had. I mean, even that bumbling moron couldn't get in the way of how good they were. And Landry was the most clutch out of all of them. I mean, he made the plays when you had to have the plays. I still see him catching that touchdown pass over Deion Blue, that Alabama cornerback, where he just kind of picks it off of his head. And that was his sophomore season, actually, that he made that play. And in the Georgia game the following year, when Mettenberger had probably his best day as a Tiger back in Athens, I thought Jarvis Landry was the best player on the field. I thought it was when they had to have a play, he made it every single. I still remember him going up in like triple coverage and coming down with a ball late in the game to set up LSU to win. And then goes on to have, overlooked in the draft. Mm-hmm.
And
You
so
know what I
he
mean,
didn't-
if
but
you
he
go,
went to
if you
Miami,
go
right?
back, if you go back and look at the wide receivers that were taken before Jarvis Landry, it's embarrassing.
Why is that though?
Just because his size, his speed, his vitals. You know, I mean, there is a fine line as a professional evaluator in what you put in the testing. Like Derek Stingley Jr. It's impossible to ignore his test, right? Like, I mean, like he just goes, he jumps 40, he runs 4.4, he catches everything, he moves like almost like a gazelle out there. You know, he moves so naturally, and he's hurt. You know what I mean? You're like, I got to take this guy. I mean, his testing numbers are just, they're too good. And Jarvis, like when he checked in, people were like, oh gosh, he's not 6'1"? Oh, geez, he doesn't run 4.5? Damn, his hands aren't the size you would think that a wide receiver's have. He doesn't jump as high. Okay, turn the film on. You know what I mean? Like, I get you. I got you. I mean, like, he's not as good looking as a prospect as Odell was, right? Like, coming out, Odell's jumping out the gym. He's got basketball highlights at Duke of him, like, you know, reverse 360 and stuff off the glass. He's jumping out the gym. He's running 4.4. He's catching everything. He looks, you know, a lot like we're talking about, like with Stingley. I mean, he's just this athlete where you're like, damn, he looks like a Ferrari, you know? But Jarvis is a little bit more rugged. I mean, Odell went 13.
Yeah, Odell was
No, where'd Jarvis go?
12.
Where did
Jarvis was
go?
63. He was a
63.
63rd pick.
So what is that, third
Okay.
round?
Second.
Second
At the
round?
end of the second.
So into the second.
There was, and then Jeremy Hill and Ego Ferguson both got taken before Jarvis Landry came off the board.
Wow.
Jeremy Hill went to Cincinnati and Ego Ferguson went to Chicago.
Ego Ferguson. Where is he now?
I have no idea.
I don't think he's still in football.
I mean,
he can't be still
no
in
way.
football.
Wait, what's his first name?
Ego?
Ego?
Ferguson.
Or number 9.
The two defensive linemen on that for whatever, it sucks because that 2013 team,
Yeah.
with Mettenberger, Jeremy Hill, Odell, and Jarvis, their offense was so incredible. It was the first time that Les Miles never had a defense.
Yeah.
He always had a defense, and that year, for whatever reason, he didn't have any defensive backs, and he had two defensive linemen. One was named Freak, the other was named Ego. They could both play, but they never came off the field.
Yeah.
They could both play, but they didn't have anybody behind them to help them out by the third quarter. But really, by middle in the second quarter, they were gassed. You know what I mean? They couldn't even pick their hands up. But for whatever reason, they didn't have if they'd had a defense that year, that team would. No telling how good that team would have been.
So he went to Miami.
So
from
Jarvis
there.
goes to Miami, and he becomes like this. Who was his quarterback? Tannehill.
Yeah, his quarterback was Tannehill. But you talk about the catches you remember Jarvis having. The one catch that I really remember, I was at this game, the Arkansas game, where Mettenberger tore his ACL. The play he tore his ACL, he throws a ball to Jarvis, and there's two guys over him.
Yeah.
He reaches
Arkansas.
under the guy
Arkansas.
and grabs the ball, comes up with it, and it was like
It's that picture.
No, it's not that one. That was from North Texas.
Is it?
Yeah. But he comes from under the guy, reaches under him, grabs the ball, and comes up with it. And it was the
kidding.
most insane catch I've ever seen in
It's
my
incredible.
life.
I remember the play. I mean,
Yeah.
it was the play that Mettenberger ended his career on at LSU. But he had, the Arkansas catch.
Yeah.
At Arkansas,
at Arkansas.
in the back of the end zone, where he catches the ball by the nose and squeezes it like this and taps 2 feet in bounds.
I mean, if you remember, the announcer said, "Hands of Velcro."
Yeah. Well,
Like,
and then you
is-
started to see the practice videos of Jarvis
Right.
and Odell start to really populate when they came into the league. After Odell made the one-handed catch on Sunday Night Football against Dallas, against the Cowboys, you really started to see people celebrate Jarvis and Odell. And now that Jarvis and Tyrann Mathieu are playing for the New Orleans Saints, like not as like late in their career, kind of like go sign these
Right.
guys a signed ticket feeling, it's amazing to say out loud. It really is. It is incredible to think that Jarvis Landry and Tyrann Mathieu play for the New Orleans Saints, and how much better the Saints have gotten in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's what's weird.
If you remember, who was it? Dan Orlovsky that had the Saints rated third in the power rankings in the NFC behind the Los Angeles Rams and the Tampa Bay Bucks, and this was before the draft.
Right.
This is before the draft. Now think about where the Saints are just from a personnel standpoint post-draft. This is without the Tyrann Mathieu addition and without the Jarvis Landry addition. I mean, to think about what Landry is going to be on the field alongside Chris Olave, who they just drafted, and Mike Thomas, who seems like he's 100%, and Alvin Kamara. I know Kamara's going to miss some time. But, I mean, for the majority of the season, you're going to have Kamara in and on the field with these guys. The amount of playmakers that the Saints have. I mean, they've taken a wide receiver room that was mocked 3 weeks ago,
One of the worst in
and
the league.
now feels like a top five group in the NFL.
Are you bummed that Sean Payton's not here for it?
I think Sean Payton's bummed
I think Sean
about it.
Payton's
I mean,
the
God.
reason that
It kind of
Really?
feels like Peyton is the one that was kind of
Right.
like banging the death. First off, he never drafts wide receivers in the
Right.
first round. He said that 3 days before the draft at the Pro-Am. And like,
Hated
I'm not
LSU players.
I don't, you know, I mean, I'm not going to put that stigma
That's
on him,
weird.
but I mean, I just know this: since he's been gone, they've now got two of the most popular Tigers that have ever put the uniform on.
I mean, that's
and they
not a
still could bring back
coincidence,
Quan
right?
Alexander.
That's not a coincidence.
I mean, they still could bring Quan back, and maybe even Akeem Hicks.
And then I heard Darrell Williams.
Yeah, Darrell Williams.
They're still looking for a running
Darrell
back.
Williams
That's
is somebody
weird.
that they're still looking for.
That is crazy.
From a running back standpoint. So it is wild to think about just like
and then the Michael Thomas thing makes it seem like that
Yes.
was more Sean Payton
Well, I mean,
oriented.
Thomas is now feels like Mike Thomas.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like for whatever reason, he was not himself over the last year and a half. But now it's incredible to Tyrann Mathieu and Jarvis Landry and take the emotion out of it. You put them onto this roster and look at this roster on paper now and who the Saints are going into the season. And I mean, they feel so much significantly better than where they were last year at this time. And that was an 8-9 team that missed the playoff by a game in week 17. I mean, week 18 of the season, the Saints got bounced out in an afternoon game because of the outcome. And now where they are, take the things that have happened to the NFC. Matt Ryan's out in Atlanta. Carolina's still looking for a quarterback. Seattle loses Russell Wilson. Los Angeles is losing key pieces to a Super Bowl run. I mean, there has been a lot of turnover in the NFC. And the Saints feel like they're kind of going in the opposite direction for the teams that are losing key figures like Russell Wilson and, Von Miller. The Saints are adding Tyrann Mathieu. Marcus May feels like a good fit. And then you throw Jarvis Landry into the mix like they did on Friday. And I mean, it's wild.
It is wild.
To think about that they got these two cats back in South Louisiana with still football left in the tank. Like Mathieu and Landry feel like they still got some juice, no pun intended. You know what I mean? Like it feels like they are going, they're not here to sell tickets. And they will sell tickets.
Yeah,
and they
will.
signed team-friendly contracts. Like Jarvis's is only 1 year, $6 million. So they're not putting heavy contracts on the books. So they can still go out and make other moves.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's
It's strange. All of it's strange.
It's awesome. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it is.
great to think about what the fall could be for the Saints. And now Dennis Allen for the same things that we say about Matt McMahon, right? I mean, where, Matt McMahon was, a guy 3 weeks ago where you were saying, hey, man, give the guy some relief. He'll have some time. He needs some time to kind of get a roster. I mean, 3 weeks later, you're like, hey, we're going to see. You're going to find out because he's got a squad. And now Dennis Allen in his second head coaching round, and I know that we mentioned the Tyrann Mathieu interview with Rich Eisen a couple of weeks back. Dennis Allen had a sit down with Rich Eisen that ran about 17 minutes that was produced a week and a half ago. That is a really cool conversation with Allen, and he gives some insight on some of the things that he's carrying over from Sean Payton, but then some of the things that he learned about being a head coach with the Oakland Raiders like he was, the experience that he had and gained there, and now carrying it over to the second time in this position. I mean, he mentions when he first got a head coaching job, he had no experience. He'd only been a defensive coordinator for 1 year with the Denver Broncos and then got the gig. And once he was brought in, it was Al Davis on the way out. Things were kind of weird, you know what I mean? Like, couldn't agree on draft picks. I mean, he gives you insight on just, a lot of the adversity that he had to deal with in his first coaching stint, but a lot what he took away and has learned since then. And then you throw him into the program for 4 years, sitting alongside and co-piloting Sean Payton. You know what I mean? Like, he now has the mindset of, I want to be a coach. I want to get back to being a head coach. And with that premise, he's going to work every day studying one of the best in one of the top organizations in the NFL with the New Orleans Saints and Sean Payton, respectively. And now here he is in year one with this roster. It's going to be fun, man. It's fun to think about what the Saints could be, where they are, and how they're comprised right now. I mean, forget, we haven't talked about the draft picks. I mean, Tyler Penning steps in. He's going to be your left tackle. Chris Olave is going to step in and be, wide receiver 2.
Where's Tyler Penning from?
Northern Iowa.
Okay.
Yeah.
First draft pick in the history of the program.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Jeez. Are we sure about that?
Maybe first rounder.
Okay.
Maybe first rounder. But check me on that.
I'm checking on that.
Check me on that. Check me on that. I mean, the Northern Iowa football program is not. It's not too. I don't think it's that old.
Yeah, first ever UNI player in the first round.
Okay.
Okay.
Good
for
check.
them.
Good check there, Stewie. Good check.
Just have to make sure.
That was a little dramatic.
I believed it. I was like, really? Wow.
But this
Shocker.
gives Jameis Winston all the tools he needs to be successful.
100%.
It lets you know if he's the quarterback or not.
And then we see Drew Brees tweeting out that he might come back. Get the hell out of here, Brees.
I'm so tired of Drew
Seriously,
Brees.
bro. I mean, it's over, man. Nobody wants to see you play anymore. I mean, like, get this thing figured out on TV. And so the news over the weekend with Drew Brees is that he's out at NBC, and there is wide speculation that he could be on or up next over at Fox. Right? We saw that Tom Brady inked the 10-year, $385 million deal with Fox as soon as his playing career is over. Which, by the way, I think is great business by Fox to lock him up. And Brady has shown since being away from Belichick that he really has a great personality. And it's, I don't think that a lot of us want to admit it, but he's likable. You know what I mean? He's kind of easy to. He's very. Well, I don't think that a lot of people want to admit that they like Tom Brady, but deep down, I think we all know. You know, I mean, it's just tough not to like the guy. And Brees was let go at NBC. I don't even know if he was let go. I don't know. It seems like it was a mutual parting of ways. Mutual parting of ways between NBC and Drew Brees. And look, the standard of this business, whether it's right or wrong, is Tony Romo. And I don't think that Tony Romo even intended to become the standard of, color commentating within the NFL and making this part of the game so popular. I mean, I think back to even like when John Madden and Pat Summerall were around, I know that they used to demand a lot of money where they would kind of go, but I mean, they were really the only team in town. They were the only ones that felt like they moved the meter. Monday Night Football tried to chase the ghost of, Gifford, Deardorff, and Al Michaels forever. They could never find the replacement for those three. But now it seems like they have found a formula with former players, right? Like Tony Romo and obviously Troy Aikman and, some of the people that are having success in this business and demanding all of this money. Brees saw that last season and threw his name into the mix. And, I think like we've seen over the last couple of weeks here, I mean, all of the television companies got into a bidding war. I mean, everybody kind of got into a bidding war over where, Brees was going to land, how much money he was going to get, what type of contract he was going to get. NBC wins out, and they try to cut his teeth on Notre Dame football and then throw him on a couple of NFL games, including a Saint game, and then they put him on the playoff game with, who was it, Cincinnati and Las Vegas with the Raiders. And he wasn't terrible, but he wasn't Romo, right? Mm-hmm. And I think Romo, obviously being the standard here, is kind of, it's a little unfair in the sense because he's so good at it. And he's so naturally
Drew Brees doesn't have
good
that.
at it. And Brees, no, he's not, because Brees is awkward.
Yeah, he is.
You know what I mean?
Awkward.
Brees is awkward because he's so calculated, and he's so covered up, and he's so, for a lack of a better term, publicly, he's fake. Yeah. He's a fake individual when it comes to his public persona because it's so protected, manicured, and fake hair, removing of the birthmark. It's so
removing of the birthmark.
I mean, that was a 5-year deal.
I know.
You know what I mean? It was just like, bro, I mean, if this is that difficult, this is who you are. Just be who you are. Like, I mean, it doesn't, like, you don't have hair. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have it.
Own it.
Just own it, man. It's all good. You know what I mean? And look, I think that's what got him into a Yahoo Finance trouble. Because he thought he was putting himself on a platform where they're not going to ask me anything that's dangerous, at least dangerous for what he perceives to be dangerous. And in that moment, they caught him in a raw, real moment, and he didn't have his guard up, and he got crushed for it. And we can, for as much as we want to talk about Mike Thomas kind of being back to normal with Sean Payton being out of the building, Mike Thomas really wasn't the same with Drew Brees since that time.
Yikes! Yeah.
So
Do you think
like
it's a money thing? Do you think it's like an Amazon?
It better not be money. If it's money, he needs to find another money manager.
Oh, I know.
You know what I mean? Like, because how much money do you need, Drew? And another thing, like nobody in the free speaking world is ever going to bid on a piece of art or jewelry and overpay for it and take it to a court of law and get refunded money back that you overpaid for. That's just that's the type of luck and the feeling around Brees that exists. Like, I mean, what do you mean he's getting the money back that he overpaid the diamond for? Isn't that his fault? Right? I mean, like, people out there getting hustled every single day. I mean, I'd love to get my money back on a car I bought 10 years ago. I mean, it's just not the way that it works. So to see Brees get out and, hey, man, that's the way of the world, bruh. You know what I mean? You try something new, odds are you're probably not going to be too good at it, or you're not going to be good enough to step on a professional stage like NBC and call the game. People like Tony Romo are an outlier. Mm-hmm. I mean, people like that are in that business are outliers. And so Brees getting out and failing for his standard, I'm not saying that I'm here to watch other people fail, but I mean, Drew, that's how it works. That's how it is, man. And if he wants to go to Fox and be on the B team and go take Greg Olson's spot while Olson keeps Brady's seat warm until Brady returns or when Brady, steps away from the game, okay, I'm with it. But Brees needs to recognize that's who you are, man. You're a backup now. You're a B-teamer. You're a second-team guy. Now, you still have the name recognition, and you've probably got the football IQ and intelligence that you can explain it, but there's an art to it. There is a strategy to it. There's a technique to it. And your faux ways, your fraudulent personality is easy to sniff out on television. It's also very easy to protect behind a helmet when you never see your face, when you're out there just kind of competing and battling and loving the Saints and, giving that Drew Brees effort that everybody came to recognize over the last decade and fall in love with. But towards the end, people were like, he can't be this happy all the time, right? And now to see him on TV and say, he's normal, man. You know what I mean? Like, He struggles at stuff that other people are good at. He's not just great at everything he touches, which is what Brees wants to make you think, which makes him so unbelievable. You know what I mean? Like, makes him feel so cartoonish, where it's like, bro, come on, man. You're not even 6 feet. You're one of the best quarterbacks that's ever walked the planet. That in itself should be celebrated. You're not like Aikman. You're not like Romo. You're not like Matt Ryan in the sense of they all look the part. Just embrace who you are, man. It's okay. And for his tweet to come out and say, I don't know what I'm going to do. I might go back to... Nobody wants you back in football. Like, don't come back to football. Don't come back to the Saints.
I may train for the pickleball tour.
Go do it.
That would be
Or
awesome.
just go.
I know.
Bro, it looks like you... Like, one thing that looks real about him is that he looks like a real fun dad.
Yeah,
Right.
he does.
You know what I mean? Like, he looks like a
He
real...
does.
cool dad. Like, I mean, it would be cool to have Drew Brees as a dad. I don't think anybody can argue that. And he's got 3 boys.
Right.
You know, and a girl. Like, bro, just go be a dad with
Yeah.
all your
Just take a little time.
hundreds of millions in the bank. I mean,
Something's up.
go have fun.
You think something's up,
Yeah,
Katie?
something's got to be up
What's
after
up?
one season. I don't know. The most recent thing I can find is 3 hours ago where it says the network is reportedly soured on his potential calling of NFL games. And they told him they didn't have enough to offer him.
Yeah, you know what they're telling him? You're not any good.
Exactly.
I was about to say, they're just saying
That's
he's
a,
not good enough.
that's
Exactly.
that's a
That's so
kind way of
awkward.
letting down a legend and saying,
Right.
we thought you were better at this.
Yeah.
We thought you were
That's
going to be better at
awkward.
this. You're not. It's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's okay, man. And he would be so much likable to me if he would just come out and say, you know what? It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
Yes. Wouldn't he be?
I'm moving on, and I'm going to, and I don't want to get out of it. And
It would be
I'm not
cool
as good
if
as
they do that.
I was. Lewis Mayhaw, Jordy, look up the meaning of jest. I know he was joking. I get it. But he's painted this persona of himself where he can't joke. He doesn't joke.
Right. That's the point.
That's the problem. Is that he's so protected and zipped up and filtered that when he makes a joke, people are wondering, is he joking? Because he's never let you believe that that's his personality. He's never let you believe that that's who he is. I've interviewed Drew Brees one time in this meeting. And before I interviewed him in this medium, he was the golden goose. He was the white whale. He was the one that you couldn't get, right? He was the one that everybody wanted. And finally we get him. And his manager, Chris Stewart, gives me 6 questions that we have to ask and 6 that we can't ask. And all 6 that we can't ask are the ones that everybody wants to talk about. And I got to ask him about his businesses and about his business partners and about social media and about, FNA flag football and walk on. Like, bro, the listeners don't care and the interviewer doesn't care. If Drew wants to come on and just have a conversation about whatever, we're all in. I can promise you this. We're not going to put him in a position that's going to cost him any type of advertising dollar. We're not trying to embarrass him. We're not trying to get a whoa soundbite out of the interview. But we also don't want to do this. We also don't want to have some interview that's fed to us on questions that we have to ask and questions that we can't ask. And by the way, that looks shitty on your client. Because the majority of the people that we interview in this business, 99% of them don't come with this stuff. They don't have what we have to talk about and what we can't talk about. It makes you look like you're hiding something. Or you're nervous to talk about something. And from that point on, I've always thought that Drew Brees was just way too orchestrated. Drawn up, like sketched. And I love what Brees did for the city. I think that they should put a statue of him where Lee's circle was, and they knocked down that. They should put a statue of Brees running out with his helmet in his hand, hair number 9 jersey. He was an incredible ambassador for the city of New Orleans. And what he did during that time period for the Saints, the city, as a philanthropist, all of that stuff should never be forgotten. But to me, Brees would be so much more likable if he was just Drew Brees. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Brees to me is a tough guy not to like. It's tough to like somebody that feels so sketched. And yesterday I thought was a moment where Brees could have let that all out. And like you say, Louie, it was in jest. Was it? Like, look at people's reaction on social media. People are like wondering, is he coming back? Is he going to play pickleball? Is he going to Fox? Like, what's he going to do? Like, people, they don't know how to accept him because he has painted himself as a very unrelatable person. Right? Like, to me, Drew Brees feels very unrelatable. And if you were to tell Brees that, he would probably smile and say thank you. Because that feels like what they have tried to orchestrate. I mean, come on. When's the last time you overpaid for anything? Whether it was art, jewelry, or drugs. I don't know. Whatever it is. Whatever you overpaid for, you can't go back to that person and say, hey, man, the fair market value of that doesn't cost what you charged me. I'm taking you to court.
Go back to your plug and see how that goes.
Like, who in the world does that work out for? I've never heard of that in my life. Look up the Southern California art dealer that got sued by Brees, where Brees paid $6 million over a piece of art or a diamond, $6 million over a diamond, over the asking, and the court ruled that Brees gets the money back.
No, it was bizarre.
I've never heard it. Please, if you know of any other case like this, share it.
No.
But that's
like
just
on Judge Judy.
Come on, man. That feels like the judge was like, "Holy shit, Drew Brees is here." You know what I mean? Like, you know what, Breezy? $6 million, buddy. Like, it
was like that.
And look, man, I'm not banging. Look, I'm not making this a 30-minute of banging on Drew because Drew has done way more good than he's done bad in our state, for the city of New Orleans, for the Saints organization. But for me, he feels very fake. Yeah. You know what I mean? He feels very orchestrated. And he would be so much more. It would be, to me, he'd be so easy to relate to. Mm-hmm. He's like Tyrann Mathieu. I mean, like, Tyrann Mathieu is so relatable because he came in here a month and a half ago. All of us took pictures of us with him, and three of us were heads taller than him.
And he retweeted us.
Yeah, I mean, like,
what a guy.
But just not only that, he's just like, if you met Brees, you'd be like, holy shit, this is the guy that has rewritten the NFL record books. Right. Yeah. I mean, when you meet Tyrann Mathieu, you're like, this guy's an all-pro DB in the NFL? This guy was the best college football player of his time? Yeah, I mean, like, he's 5'10", was 180 pounds.
That's crazy.
He's very relatable. Drew Brees is very relatable to people, but he just doesn't want to. He don't want to relate. Speaking of New Orleans, our friends down at the Men's Total Health Clinic are ready to get back to being you. Get you back to being you. If you're suffering out there, men, from fatigue, weight gain, decreased libido, depression, decreased physical activity, you need to get over and see our friend Mike Roach over at Men's Total Health. It's located on 3829 Veterans Memorial Drive, Veterans Memorial Boulevard, or online at menstotalhealth.net. Menstotalhealth.net is where you can find them online. Tell them you heard it right here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Men's Total Health wants to get you back to being you. Mike Roach and his crew over there are fantastic, located on Vets, experienced, caring staff, and like I said, they can help you out today with hormone replacement therapy. If you're suffering from fatigue, if you're having trouble sleeping, if you're suffering from depression, get over to Men's Total Health, online at menstotalhealth.net. Go see Mike Roach. Tell him you heard it right here on the Jordy Culotta Show, and he will take care of you. menstotalhealth.net, online, located down in New Orleans, 3829 Veteran Memorial. We were down there last week, said he's already had 2 people come in from the area and tell him that he heard it on the show, which is tremendous. We appreciate that, man, so much. Our show is growing. Our footprint is growing. We're now down in New Orleans with advertisers like Men's Total Health. and it does so solid, man. If you use our sponsors and let our sponsors know that this is where you're hearing it, you could see the pride that Mike Roach was exuding when he heard when he was telling me that somebody came through and said that they had heard it on the show over at Men's Total Health. So we appreciate that.
That's so exciting.
So much, man. Thank you very much. Get over there and look, man. We're in the program too over there. So let me know how your results are. Let me know about your experience. We'll give the testimonies here on air. I've been over there for 2 weeks. I'll be back over there on Wednesday, and it's been great. It's been easy. They draw the blood. And like I said, man, it's not just about this. They catch early signs of cancer. They can run you through a physical. They can run you through any type of medical test that you may be looking for. Get over to Men's Total Health, menstotalhealth.net, a proud new sponsor here of the Jordy Culotta Show. So what do you think is next for Drew Brees, right? Does he stay in TV? I think he goes to Fox. And if Brees is able to kind of swallow the pill and say, hey, look, Brees, man, you're not going to be the starter. You're not the A-team guy. You're not Troy Aikman yet. You're not Tony Romo yet. We don't think of you like Tom Brady. We're not going to give you this type of contract, but you still have the name. You've got the wherewithal and the IQ that will put you on television and let you talk about football.
Or he's going to go to Amazon because he needs the money.
If he needs money, that's a 30 for 30.
Yeah,
I
know,
Drew,
right?
If Drew Brees is in, I'm not even putting that out there because he can't be.
No, I don't think he needs the money, but money talks. Why not? I mean,
Sure.
We don't know what Amazon might have offered
Absolutely.
him, or someone might have offered him.
Saints quarterback coach.
You think?
See, I don't think he could do that. I don't think his ego would allow him.
But he'd be so good at
to
it.
do that. I think he'd be great at that. To me, Brees, if you want to go be a high school football coach.
Right.
To me, he would be a phenomenal.
Speaking of high school football coaches,
Chad Morris?
Dan Mullen.
I saw that.
What?
But did you
Dan
see the story
Mullen.
about Chad Morris?
Wait, I didn't see this.
Chad
Dan Mullen
Morris
is a high school offensive coordinator.
Stop.
Yeah.
He's
What?
at the
Where?
Oakley Lake.
In Georgia.
I mean, that's a hell
he's just going
that's
to
a hell of a high
away.
school. You know what I mean?
Isn't that the high school Max Johnson went to? Is that not the high school?
That's the high school, or that's the lake that Saban, Kirby Smart, and all them live on. So
But
I mean,
is that
that's
not a crazy step back?
it would probably be perceived as one, but I mean,
I'm perceiving it as
He wants to
one.
live on the lake.
live on the lake, collect. He's still getting money from the University of Florida.
Right.
Would they pay him $11 million to walk?
I think so.
I mean,
Jeez.
life is good, but
His wife can't be kissing on those boys. They're underage.
got a couple of seniors over here for you, Miss Mullen.
They're 18.
But the thing, but the thing about this is, did you see what happened to Chad Morris? Chad Morris was a head coach in the SEC, and look, 6 years ago, Chad Morris was one of the most hottest names in college football. He was SMU's offensive coordinator. They had Trey Quinn. He lit it up with Trey Quinn. Chad Morris was the offensive coordinator. He started with Dabo. He was the offensive coordinator at Clemson. Then they brought him over. And then Arkansas made him the head coach. And now, the season he was the head coach at Arkansas, they were putrid. I mean, they were pitiful. I want to say, I don't think he won a game. I don't think he won a non-conference. I think he went over. And they ran him. And they fired him. And he became the offensive coordinator at Auburn for a year. And then he took the Allen High head coaching job over in Texas.
Yeah.
And if you remember, Allen High was like that first school in Texas that promoted their stadium. And they had the 80,000 seat stadium, and it looked like
Kyler Murray went to high school.
Kyler Murray went there.
Yeah.
It
Allen
looks
High School.
It looks.
Jeez.
I mean, they've got better facilities than Ole Miss did in the '80s. I mean, they got
crazy.
better facilities than the majority of small colleges in the country. I mean, it looks D1. And Chad Morris went over there for a year, screwed stuff up. They ran him out.
Really?
Yeah.
Next thing you know, I mean, what's Chad Morris's stock now?
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, 3 years ago, he was an offensive coordinator at Auburn. 3 years later, he's out as a high school head coach in Texas.
What's he doing now?
I have no idea. I
But
don't know.
At Arkansas, he went 2-10, 0-8 in the SEC.
Yeah.
John Chavis was the defensive coordinator
Wow.
that season.
The chief.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Matthew gives him
Uh-huh.
credit for the honey badger,
Yeah.
Really?
for the nickname.
Oh.
One thing Chief did good here.
Wow.
Put it in the poll, Stu. I see where you have where does Drew Brees go next, TV or back to football. But another poll question, bigger news. Ace Wolf or Juice Landry on Friday? Jarvis Landry or Adam Miller coming to
I think Jarvis Landry, right?
back to South Louisiana? Yeah, I mean, you would think.
It's just because it's kind of shell shocking.
Yeah.
Because like even like when Tyrann Mathieu signed, I didn't believe it until I saw the picture of him in the facility. Because I was like, there's no way this is actually going to happen.
Yeah.
And then the same thing Friday, I was like, is this real?
Yes.
Is this really happening? And it happened.
I'll put it in this perspective. The people
Friday the
I was
13th.
with this weekend, they knew about Jarvis Landry and were excited. Adam Miller didn't come up.
Sure, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But two enormous pieces of information
Well, yeah.
for
Huge.
South Louisiana sport. I mean, I will remember Friday the 13th, 2022 forever. I mean, like, if you're a sports fan in South Louisiana, Friday the 13th is now like a day of royalty down here. I mean, not only was it Tyrann Mathieu's 30th birthday,
That's right.
Jarvis Landry agrees to terms with the Saints. Adam Miller decides to come back. I mean, just... It
And
was
the video that Jarvis put out,
Yeah, the hype video.
awesome.
That
which
was
tells you
amazing.
that this deal has been done
Yeah.
for like a while.
Yeah.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
'Cause that was well
That
produced.
was very well
edited.
produced.
Right.
And it was awesome.
And the art that the Saints are putting out
Uh-huh.
with the LSU, the high school, and the Saints images. Like they
pretty
had
cool.
Tyrann at St. Aug, Tyrann
Yeah.
at LSU, then Tyrann in the Saints uniform. Then they had
Jarvis
Jarvis
at
at
Lutcher.
Lutcher, Jarvis at LSU, Jarvis with the Saints.
What a fun time to be able to report on all this.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It is fun, and it's gonna be fun to watch them play, man. I mean, it's
Yeah.
gonna be fun to see the dynamics because you still like. I know I would love to see Sean Payton coach this offense, and I would. And don't get it twisted. I would love to see Sean Payton go to meetings with this group and get them prepared to play. But you still have a Sean Payton 2.0 and Pete Carmichael.
Yeah.
Right? So where I think that you'll get the scheme, the strategy, the principles of, what that offense would kind of look like under Peyton with Carmichael. Now, Carmichael's not Peyton, Peyton's not Carmichael, but those two are, as well connected as any two coaches in the NFL. They have been along each other's side for the last 16 years. This will be the first year that Carmichael is without Peyton, obviously, since the 2013 season when Peyton was suspended. But until, dating back to when Peyton got the job at 06, when Brees signed as a free agent with New Orleans, one of the first moves that Peyton made was go and hire Pete Carmichael because Pete Carmichael was the quarterback's coach with the San Diego Chargers at the time. He knew Brees. He was familiar with Brees. He had worked with Drew Brees. So Sean Payton wanted to make it very familiar, very comfortable for Drew early on, and Carmichael just stuck. I mean, if you remember, Payton had to turn his staff over one time in his career where he had to fire guys like Joe Vitt, who Joe Vitt was that was a Sean Payton comrade, man. I mean, he did a lot of the dirty work for Payton behind the scenes. If you read Payton's book, I mean, Joe Vitt was he was his ace. And, I mean, he had to turn his staff over tremendously. There was a lot of turnover inside the Saints organization when Peyton was there one time. Carmichael made it. He made it through there, and at certain times, Peyton would hand over play calling duties to him. So he's somebody that I think very much had respect from Peyton, and it's just exciting to kind of think about what could be next for the Saints, man. Other news over the weekend that Friday the 13th, we ate lunch with the boys over at Phil's with Randy Lanois and the crew. And then we loaded up with the Lanois and went to Supper Club on Friday night, the new restaurant here in Baton Rouge. Shout out to Brandon Landry, Mac Landry, Leighton Carbo, who is the head chef over there. They have created an environment over at Supper Club that just does not exist in Baton Rouge. When you go into the restaurant, it feels as if you're in Vegas, New York, Chicago,
I looked it from
Miami.
all the Instagram stuff.
It feels enormously big city,
Yeah,
right?
I didn't
And
even know that was here. I looked at the pictures. I didn't think that was
know.
here.
It
it
you
didn't
gotta,
look like
you gotta
Baton
walk in the
Rouge.
place. You're
Right.
like, I mean, you felt
Well,
like
and they
you
have
just
a
kind of
dress
been
code,
like,
right?
yeah.
Like you're not going in there looking like a scrub.
And look, man, I didn't know about the
Yeah.
dress code until like 30 minutes before.
Sorry, can't
Oh,
get
you
in.
didn't?
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean-
it's like cocktail attire
No,
and,
it's-
a jacket. For
Yeah, I
men.
mean, I was suit no tie and kind of felt
yeah.
out of place.
Yeah.
But they did a 3-night soft opening. I guess that's what you would call
Yeah.
it, like a friends and family
Uh-huh.
type deal. Because I think they officially grand open on Wednesday.
Okay.
This Wednesday, this week. And they had like a weekend Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They had the restaurant filled up, and Kelly and I went on Friday night and sat with the Matuks. And
Fun.
it was bumping, man. It was, I mean, like
Food was good, drinks
DJ
were good?
DJ every night.
I know. I saw that.
DJ like on 10 every night. I
Ah,
mean, it's a
that's
little
amazing.
Yeah, it is. You kind of yell. You got to yell your order,
Right.
You know what I mean. So I think if they're, maybe drop the music down a couple of decibels, but the atmosphere, the food, the drink, everything was
What'd you have?
fantastic. So it was a limited menu on for this event, and we had cuts of meat. The table next to us had sea bass. But there was a New York strip that Kelly got, and then I got the filet. But we also got a side of potatoes and Brussels sprouts. And it was fantastic. The Matuks got the butter cake afterwards.
Oh wow.
Which looked like a heart attack. And then they also served like donut holes. For
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was cool. But the food was fantastic. Like
Can you
I
get
said,
up and mill around? Is it
Yeah,
like
well, that
a
was the
C and
deal.
B scene? Like, okay.
I don't know if that's going to be like the regular,
Right.
like kind of that'll be the regular behavior
Mm-hmm.
for the restaurant. But like on that particular night, there were so many people under the roof that everybody knew. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It looked like they kind of cut it up to like certain themes. I don't
Yeah.
know, not themes, but like crowds. Like on Saturday night, it was like politics and
Okay.
like I think like Brian Kelly and Matt McMahon,
Oh, wow.
like all the politicians were in
Yeah.
there on Saturday night. Then on Friday night, it was like it was kind of more like a social room. Like we saw, like a lot of Brandon's friends, like Anthony Piazza
Mm-hmm.
from Phil's and Randy and Raul Gillian from the
Yeah.
neighborhood out there on that's going up and blowing up now
Yeah,
on
it is.
River Road.
What's the name of that place?
Across from it's across from LaBerge.
Yes, that's where the flower festival was. Dang it.
Yes, well that's
I'll think of it in a
that's the
second.
Gillians neighborhood. They were like they were
that's a
out
cool
there.
spot.
You saw like just a lot of Brandon's friends, like T-Bob and Jacob were there.
Okay.
The Lanois were there.
Mm-hmm.
All of the Lanois, the entire family was there. Daryl Owens and his wife was there. I mean, there's just a lot. Justin Vincent, there was
Yeah.
a lot of Ronnie Rance. Rance wakes out of bed and puts a suit on. Every day he wakes out of bed and puts a suit on. Everybody in the building is suited up on Friday night. Rance walks in with a Hawaiian shirt. Out of all of the guys not to get the memo. I knew I was going to be the asshole that was underdressed. I was going to try to show up with like some J's on or like some like Air Force Ones or something. You know what I mean? And Rance just like totally popped the air out of the balloon because everybody's like in there like looking all squared up, and Rance
That's awesome.
walks in with some hula shirt,
Awesome.
bro, like shorts and deck shoes.
He really did?
Yes, he did.
How did he not know?
I don't know if he didn't know and
Oh.
tried to go oppo.
Okay.
Yeah, he probably did know and just didn't.
Because
want
everybody in the room was, he made a comment to me. He was like, even you in a suit. I just read the directions, Ron. What do you want from me? But incredible was the atmosphere and food and drink on Friday night at Supper Club. Thank you to Mac Landry and Brandon Landry for having us out. Leighton, who is the head chef over there. They got a lot of cool little rooms and duck outs.
It looked
and
like
it's
it.
dark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I liked all
the
the
lighting's
candles.
crazy.
I already tried to look to make a reservation Friday night, and the first one available was like 9:30.
The candles were actually kind of a late put
Because
together
their lighting
because
didn't
the
show
lighting
up.
didn't show
Yeah.
up. So they
I
put the
loved
candle,
it,
and I told them on the way out, I was like, you might have found something.
I know.
Because it kind of creates this ambiance, and when you walk in, somebody opens the door for you, then you're in an area that's kind of closed off to the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Then the door swings open, and it kind of feels like Vegas,
Yeah.
New York, Chicago, big city, where you just go from like this quiet feeling to the door opens and you're in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're like, okay, we found the party.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we're at the right spot.
Yeah.
Music's bumping, good looking people, food's at, you know what I mean? Like it was just, it was
love
very anti Baton Rouge.
Mm-hmm.
And in true Baton Rouge fashion, we have screwed up so many things that we have felt like we don't fit. I hope that they can, that we can, the city of Baton Rouge and surrounding, can support this venture that Brandon Landry and his wife Mac are bringing to the area with a stud chef in Leighton Carbo, and make it stick.
Yeah, I hope
you know,
so,
because
too.
it's very different than anything that we have. It is still fine dining. I think that it is still a place that you can choose on a graduation night, on a date night, on a celebration, but it's different than the experience that you have in Baton Rouge. And if you've been looking for that big city appeal of, you know, feeling like it's a little Miami or feeling like Atlanta, New York, Chicago, LA, Dallas, it just kind of fits that vibe, man. It kind of fits that vibe.
Can't wait.
Yeah, so check it out, man. We were there on Friday night, and then we woke up, Kelly and I woke up on Saturday morning. We headed to the beach, man. We got away for the weekend, which is why we thought we were not going to be here this morning. In fact, we weren't here at 7 a.m., but we ended up having to do a show because there was so much news that popped over the weekend. We talked, where are we? We got on air here at about 8:30, and we're we're an hour and 15 minutes into this thing, and we've talked all about Friday the 13th. We haven't even really talked about the news that popped over the weekend with Trey Holly, the number one running back in the state of Louisiana, pledging to LSU. Enormous get for Frank Wilson and the crew. As Brian Kelly and everybody was celebrating the latest commitment to the class of 2022 is Trey Holly, the four-star running back from up in North Louisiana. First thing that popped off to me about Holly's commitment was that this staff has really understood the importance of North Louisiana from the start here and really have been able to regain some roots in that part of the state. And Trey Holly, in my opinion, here in this class, in this 22 cycle, was a must-get. That was a player that LSU had to have as far as necessity went, in just, being and getting a running back, and getting the top player at that position in the state of Louisiana. And if you have not followed or kept up with anything in this recruiting process with Trey Holly, he's on Twitter at DrippyTrey2. He tweeted out Saturday when he committed, 1,000% committed, LSU Nation. I'm staying home. He's also been very very boisterous about once you commit to a school, it doesn't sound like he plans on transferring. Now, things happen, right? And I think it's easy, and everybody in their commitment and in their recruitment, once they commit to a school, they never think they're leaving, right? I mean, like, you don't commit with the intent to leave. But Trey Holly seems like this means a lot to him. Like, even before he committed, if you were following him on social media, he would react to people who would transfer. And not necessarily individual, but big stories. He would just kind of put out an overarching feeling about how he felt on the matter. And it looks as if he is very strong against not finishing where he commits to. So I think it's a great sign to see that he's committed to LSU, and it kind of gives you a peace of mind. Like, for as much as this might be competition, or there might be competition at the spot, he's going to stick. And Holly being, like I said, the top player of the state in that position, and then being at a position of need like running back where LSU needs it, that was an enormous get for Frank Wilson and crew. So shout out to Brian Kelly, the staff, everybody. I saw Eli Holstein was on campus this weekend, the quarterback from Zachary, who's had an incredible summer. Holstein was given a couple of quotes to 247 and On 3 saying that it was great to be around the staff and the facility and see and get caught back up with LSU. Where does LSU sit? We don't know as far as Holstein sits, but it was good to see him on campus for the weekend.
Trey Holly, in my opinion, looks like the perfect Frank Wilson running back, like the prototypical, he's not built like Leonard Fournette, but that type of running back where he's going to run downhill and run straight at somebody. Leonard Fournette, Jeremy Hill, guys like that. And then Trey Holly just looks like that. I mean, he's a smaller, stockier guy, bowling ball type of running back, and he should be able to make an impact, especially if John Emery has the season we expect him to have this year and go towards the draft. I mean, Trey Holly has a foot in the door in that running back room.
Will be interesting to see how that running back room looks next year, because there will have some guys like Noah Cain that'll still be a part of it. They'll have some young guys in that room, but Trey Holly coming in as the number one player at that position in the state is going to be it will be interesting to see how they use him. And look, man, his numbers, we talked about Nick Brissett when
crazy.
when Brissett got the job at LSU a couple of weeks back, and Brissett from a statistical standpoint is the best that the state has ever seen. Rushing yardage, touchdowns. Trey Holly is closing in on that. Last year, he was the most outstanding player in the Class 3A state championship game as a junior. He helped Union Parish to that second state 3-8, in the game. They got beat and was a runner-up, but he was the most valuable player in the game. His career numbers through his junior season is 923 carries for 7,829 yards, 108 touchdowns, and averages 8.5 yards per carry. He's also caught the ball 46 times for 764 yards and 8 scores. I mean, he is dynamic. And look, I know that stats don't tell the full story, and sometimes you look at the stats of a running back and you're like, yo, coach, ease up on the guy. You know what I mean? You want to leave a little tread on the tire for when he gets to college in the league. But one thing about Holly is that I know he is a smaller, more, like Noah said, kind of a bowling ball of a player, but he doesn't really he doesn't take a lot of hit. Yeah. He gets hit, but he doesn't take those shots that you would think a smaller running back with that style would take. And look, I'm not making that's a hell of a workload.
Yeah.
For a junior in high school. That's a lot of carries. But I still believe that, he physically he will be able to handle the punishment of that position when he comes to LSU. As we said, Mikey Matuk will be diving into the LSU baseball storyline. Tigers swept over the weekend by Ole Miss and Mike Bianca. That was a tough one, man. Friday night rained out. Saturday they get back to it. Tigers can't close it. Then Saturday afternoon they run. And then yesterday Ole Miss hits a couple of bombs to close them out on Sunday for a 3-game sweep. Matuk will be diving into a lot of those storylines about LSU baseball coming up here at 11 o'clock. Before we get out of here in a quick special edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, we just had to put something on record for everything on the news wire that had happened over the weekend. Before we get out of here, the Phoenix Suns. Holy shit.
Got ran out of the arena.
Give me a worse performance in a closeout game in sports history. I was racking my brain as I was sitting there last night thinking, who has played worse than this in a Game 7 or a closeout game at home? Think about all of the factors that the Suns had either going against them or going for them yesterday when that game tipped off. You're at home playing in a Game 7 if you're Phoenix. You're back home in the Valley playing Game 7. You're playing against a team where it looked like early on in the series that this was going to be like either a 4-0 or a 5-1 sweep. Or like a 5-1 type series.
Right,
I mean,
right.
It just felt like this was not close as far as the competitive matchup went between Phoenix and Dallas early on. Now, Luka is a player in himself, which Luka is dangerous because Luka believes he's the best player on the planet. And when he played like he did last night, he might be.
He makes a good case.
He might be. The movie put on Cameron Payne, I think you'll see forever. And then Mikal Bridges, who some people believe was the defensive player of the year.
Right.
I know Marcus Smart took the award home. Sorry, buddy. Sorry, buddy. Boston looked great, though. Easy over there, Jack. Easy.
We just had my Boston.
But there was some talking heads within the community when the the award came out that Mikal Bridges was the best defensive player in the league. When I say he, I mean Luka Doncic abused Bridges yesterday. He had him in the post on one possession,
toying with him.
where I mean it looked like a pro versus a high schooler.
Yeah.
I mean, like he was toying with him.
And he was. Stewie were talking about he moves so slow.
He does.
I know, it's crazy. He moves so slow. But I looked up some of the worst Game 7 like blowouts. And in 05, the Mavericks blew out the Rockets by 40.
Damn.
That's the biggest ever. Yeah.
Was that in Houston?
I'm not sure.
You better look it up. I mean,
Let's see.
it was amazing that
2005.
game was in Phoenix.
Rockets. Yeah.
But I mean, like you look at like all of the players for Phoenix yesterday. Paul played terrible. DeAndre Ayton played shitty.
Well, the thing and the storyline with Aiden is he was the number 1 pick when Luka went 3. And so they said that he looked upset, and I would be upset too if the guy that
absolutely
the team that drafted me won is looking at the other guy, and he's cooking them.
Well, and I saw Monty Williams say after the game that somebody asked him directly about like what's up with DeAndre Ayton's minutes, and Monty said it was internal. Like, bro, you don't want no internal struggles going into Game 7,
Right. That Mavs Rockets game was in Dallas.
Okay,
So it was at home.
so. I mean, Phoenix was the number 1 overall seed. Chris Paul, 37 years old. He hadn't looked the same since Game 2 of this series.
Right.
And then I thought that the hand injury that he sustained against New Orleans kind of messed with him.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if he's got 2 healthy hands last night. They just were off, bro. I mean, like Phoenix, it was over early. Like Luka was killing them early, and like you could tell they don't have an answer for this cat.
At one point in the game, the Suns had 27 and Luka had 27 on his own.
Well, I believe in the middle of the third quarter,
Yeah.
they had the same amount of points, Luka and the Suns. I mean, the TV that we were watching the game on last night had like gone into like the wide mode. You know what I mean? Where like the bottom like is like stretched out, so like the Phoenix score was not in the screen. And it said like Dallas 80, and all we saw on the other side was Phoenix 4. And I'm like, Kel, no way they beating them by 40, right? And she's like, I see 4. And I'm like, I get on Twitter and I'm like, this is incredible. I mean, they have run this team out of the building. Beat them by, I mean, it ended up being like 35 was the difference. But, I mean, at one point they were up 46 points in a Game 7 on the number 1 seed's home floor. Right now, Vegas has Golden State 3-1 odds to beat Dallas. And, look, I'm with it, but Golden State's lost some key figures here over the last couple of games. Gary Payton Jr. being out on defensively is going to mean something. And Golden State closed out Memphis over the weekend. Draymond was huge. 15 and 15, I think 15 points, 15 boards. And he's going to be held here in a conference finals setting. But when you have a player like Luka and look, the Dimwitty and the ancillary parts, Finney Smith.
Dinwiddie was a huge addition for them.
Huge addition.
Straight.
When they are playing like they are last night, and Luka is zoned in like he is, and Luka carries himself like he is the best player on the planet. And if I was to compare him to anybody, it would be LeBron, right?
100%.
Just because physically, there's not too many on the planet that can match. You saw physically, like when he wants to body you up. He took Mikal Bridges for a ride. You know what I mean? Like there's not too many people that can stay with him, and
he plays just so slow. Like that's what gets me. It's just like a slow game, and he's lulling you to sleep, and then he hits you with a quick move, and it's just like, all right, now it's 2 points, or it's a 3.
Very smooth, just it is a beautiful game.
Yeah.
that's EuroLeague basketball.
Yeah,
like where it's just strict fundamental. Yeah, you're crossing over.
He'll jab you. I mean, break you down. Turn. I mean, his ball handling, he is, man. I mean, who's to say 3 years from now he's not
right?
He's not the best player.
And the
on
thing with
planet.
the Mavericks is they're not a defensive team. So to see the Suns only be able to score, 40 points in the third quarter against the Mavericks, who are such an offensively heavy team, if they can string games with defense like that on forward, I mean, there's not going to be many teams that can beat them.
And then on the other side, Jackie, take a lap, buddy. Beantown, baby.
Celtics on the ball.
Boston Celtics close out Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks in 7 yesterday. Do it in similar fashion to the way that Phoenix was closed out as Boston just bludgeoned Milwaukee at home. This does not discount a performance from Giannis in this playoff series. That's one of the best I've ever seen.
He was spent. Like at the end of that game, he was.
I saw some of the numbers on Giannis. He's the first to get back-to-back 25 and 15 games since Shaq did it in 2001.
Yeah.
He's the first player to score 200, grab 100 rebounds, and dish out 50 assists in a series.
Yeah.
Say that out loud.
Wow.
200, 150 in 7 games.
As the center.
It was 2010 LeBron.
Yeah.
Definitely. The last Cavaliers team that Cleveland had before he made the decision. The one where he took his jersey off in the
Right.
tunnel, because he was like,
gone.
he was signifying like, there's nothing else I can do.
Right.
There's if you're gonna give me, like me and us four.
Right.
I mean, like it was pretty much, like he had like Booby Williams. I mean, it's crazy, man. Yeah, I mean, like bums. I mean, just carrying bums out there. It felt like that LeBron series in 2010, where he's just hitting bombs out there from 3, but they can't close him out. And he takes his shirt off heading into the Giannis. There's nothing else that he could have done. I mean, it felt like I saw somebody last night compare it to Jerry West in the '69 finals, where he got the MVP in a losing effort. Like he was the MVP of the finals, but like he was the best player in the series.
Isn't that the trophy that he shows?
That's the one that he throws. That's the one he throws through the window. The one that haunts him. But Giannis was. You felt bad for him because I don't know what else
Only
you
so much you can do.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do. But Boston, the conference finals on both sides are going to be great.
Yeah.
I said whoever won that game 7 was going to win the finals. It's the new Giannis Fountain is the new LeBron now.
No doubt. I agree.
Like, I was so distraught game 5 when Marcus Smart blew it because I'm like, we lost the finals. We didn't lose that game.
Hey, we're mic'd up over there. Put this guy on the mic. Mic him up.
Slide on that mic, Jackie.
Mic him up. Hold up. Boston, Northeast native, Boston Celtics fanatic.
Gee, I thought you guys were going to see me after game 5.
Easy. Are we? Is Mike on over there?
Yeah.
Okay. So, like you were saying, you compared this to.
This is the new LeBron now.
I mean, LeBron's been killing us since 2010. That was the new mountain to get. He pretty much broke up the big 3. It was a rebuild process, and then he broke up the young core in 2018, and he went to LA, and we're like, all right, there's no new mountain, and then the Greek Freak comes through, and it's just, God, he's always killing you, and you never knew you were going to win the game because Giannis could always come back, and once you beat him, and game 5 hurt so bad because like this is it. This is the best team in basketball, the Bucks. The Bucks would beat the Suns again, they'd beat the brakes off them, and you beat them, and it's just like, oh my God, like we climbed the mountain. I mean, I think the Celtics are going to beat the Heat in 6. The Heat, there's no Kyle Lowry, they don't have point guard. I mean, is Jimmy Butler going to score 45 a game? If Jimmy Butler scores 45 a game, I'll tip my hat to them. I think they can guard Bam. I mean, if you have Robert Williams, his knee doesn't hurt. Defensively, they're so good. You can do the same game plan against Giannis you do against Bam.
Well, Boston has taken Kevin Durant and handcuffed him. Like, totally taken him out of his game. Those 5 games that they played against Brooklyn in the opening playoff series, Kevin Durant was as lost on a basketball floor as I can ever remember seeing.
Sonic.
I mean,
He looks like Supersonic.
I can't even remember seeing him as lost as he was, just trying to figure it out in real time like he was against that Boston defense. And then the way that the Celtics, schemed Giannis. I mean, at some point, you just got to tip your hat to Giannis and be like, I don't know how else you defend it.
I mean, you're shooting 34%. You just get the putbacks.
Yeah. But to me, the MVP of the series Grant Williams.
Last night, yeah. Well,
Game 7.
They kept on switching their strategy to Bucks. We lost game 1 because the Bucks were like, you shoot the 3. If you hit your threes, we tip your hat to you and we win. And then they went back to that same strategy, game 7, and Williams shot 19 threes.
Yeah, and I mean he
And they didn't even guard him.
points.
They're like, shoot him.
Right. Well, see, that's kind of the Budenholzer curse.
It is.
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, did I see that Boston shot 55 3-pointers last night?
Yeah.
They shot 55. Somewhere Red Auerbach is rolling over in his grave. The fact that the Celtics win shooting 55 threes and 27 points comes from Grant Williams. I mean, like, but Budenholzer, I mean, he kind of lives and dies by that. And in today's NBA, in a one-game scenario, that could cost you because you got a team like Boston who shoots at 55. Would they make 33 of them? I think they went 33 of 55 from the three-point line last night. I mean, it's
Our threes are going to count more than your twos.
exactly.
25 of them.
I mean, so it's just it's simple math. But I mean, the Miami-Boston series, Boston feels like the favorite, and imagine they are. In
Miami's the favorite for game 1.
But for the series, Boston's favorite.
I don't
'Cause
know.
I know
for the
that I
series.
saw that Golden State's favored 3-1 over Dallas in the Western Division.
I just saw game 1, and it makes sense. I mean, you just went 7.
Yeah. But the Celtics were 22 for 55 from 3, and the Bucks were 4 of 33.
I mean, it was
you
abysmal
go.
for Milwaukee. If
There
you're
you
not
go.
hitting the threes, then you can build that
And
wall.
Boston is?
around Giannis.
Right.
I mean, you got to be able to space the floor, and there was just no space in that at all. Grayson Allen, I don't even know if they're going to bring back Grayson Allen. He was a liability on defense all series. He couldn't hit the threes. Connaughton, I mean, I was so used to Connaughton hitting 2 big threes a game, and then he wasn't able to shoot.
Yeah, disappeared.
And then you see what happens. They get clogged down. And the refs were awful. Oh, my God.
Yeah, no, I mean the whole series.
That was
Yeah.
just
Entire
bogged
series.
down.
Oh, playoffs.
Gross.
Yeah.
All right, appreciate you joining us for this special edition. We will be back with you tomorrow morning at our regular time. Remember, Mic'd Up and Mikey Matuk will be here at 11 o'clock. He will dive into the baseball series as LSU swept over the weekend by Ole Miss. We will hear what Matuk has to say about it coming up on Mic'd Up. Appreciate you starting your day here with us. Make sure you hit that like button, share button, comment button. All the news popping over the weekend. We had to get back from vacation and get down and put some content down. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Have a great day. We'll be back with Mic'd Up, 11 o'clock here on FM Digital Media.
What up?